All right, guys. Good evening. Good evening, all. Nice to see some familiar faces. Of course, our project founder, Ashton. I see some community members. Heisenberg from Discord. Nice to see you, buddy. See some investors. Alex. Hello. How are you doing? So happy to see you guys here. Another Tuesday, another EMA session. Yeah. I would say market sentiment not the best. Um, more redness in the market. But as we discussed in a previous call with Ashton, I think the people who are long enough in the crypto know these cycles and the sentiment, which is really bad, could shift very fastly. So I think what we as a project need to focus on is to build the things, the nice things. So today I want to give the mic to Ashton uh, to update us on upcoming news and short us a roadmap. And as always, we'll have time for your question, guys. So we have few recorded from the TG and Discord, and as well we have a possibility to jump on a stage and to ask questions live. So, mic to you, Ashton.
Thank you, Paulus. Hi, everyone. As always, we spend a little bit more time talking about what's going on in the world and OpenxAI update, and at the end, community questions. Last time we talked about economy being bad and uncertainties. But if you look at it in the last 72 hours, it's kind of crazy, right? So we are living in not 72 hours. Let's call it all the way to last Friday. We're living in kind of a very unprecedented times. I'm sure next year, maybe following year, even for after a decade, many historians, researchers will be talking about what happened during the weekend and also the last week. Like approximately 10 trillion wiped out. Some call it safe haven, right, in the traditional markets. 10 trillion, that's not a simple number, right? We had market crashes in billions, but in trillions happened, but in that magnitude is a unprecedented. Silver crash more than 35% in single day. Like that kind of volatility we didn't even have in crypto. Like talking about obviously all coins for sure, but for BTC, the last time we saw like 30% plus volatility, that was 2021, May 19th to be exact. So it's crazy times, right? So we don't see silver crash like all coins, which is crazy. So that shows that the politics and weaponizing different financial instruments and supply chain shocks, playing different geopolitical tensions are very, very different to when it's come to like markets like crypto. And I think the partial government shutdown also going to be impacting. These are not good news, right? Because I think markets, investors, businesses, even like us, we need peace of mind sometimes, like some certainty. Having lots of things are moving like this, it spook everybody, right? Because essentially what's happening because of the chaos is a traditional safe havens kind of falling. These are not market corrections, obviously. These are like major paradigm shifts happening into global economic stage. So, there are important things are happening. I'm not a politician or expert in politics, but this is my personal opinion. Trump is great. Obviously, he brought a lot of good things, but I'm not sure the strategy of like basically shaking every tree, rocking like every boat is the right strategy. It might be good to create an empire, like a real estate empire, but if you are the leader of the modern world, I'm not too sure because it's too many things, right? So NATO is nervous there. EU's want to have a fight. China want to have fight. It's too much, too many moving things. So that's what I think markets are factoring in. Markets are pricing in, like the volatility and also the negative sentiment is actually now is no longer just in crypto, but applying into other asset classes. I was reading one of our article. So there's a publication done through Bloomberg Technology and Bloomberg Finance. They're talking about the expected rate cuts also is not a positive thing. So again, like overall, things are in a bit of a chaos mode at the moment, right? Things might calm down, but overall, of course, is not a pain for crypto. It's basically pain for everyone in different markets. And speaking of obviously crypto, we had the longest and the most extreme negative sentiment for a longest period. And we haven't even had altcoin for the last 5 years. So last altcoin season, it was 2021. So kind of understand, obviously, everyone in crypto right now, they're going through this painful period. Like that's why I get a lot of DMs, like what's happening to charts, why we are not doing anything about charts. Unfortunately, we are a docs team, and we cannot pump charts, right? So that's like something we cannot do legally. Other projects, obviously, they can spend money on market makers, doing wash trades and all sorts of like manipulation, but we cannot do that. Our team members are, in the EU, in the US, Australia, and we need to work with regulators long term. So we cannot cross a lot of lines. Our focus, of course, long term, like that's the main thing. So we have 3-step process. We can get into more details on those steps. Those steps are really, really crucial. And also the pillars that we're going to be introducing are crucial for long-term sustainability and long-term growth. Yes, we can do a lot of gimmicks. Like it's not like we are not capable. Of course, we are capable doing a lot of gimmicks. Those gimmicks can probably help like short-term price actions. Number one, we don't want to do that. Number two is unethical and illegal, and also just a distraction for the time being. So we would rather focus on long term and building those pillars, because those pillars, for example, building the trading layer for specifically for tokenized GPU and tokenized RAM, tokenized bandwidth, tokenized storage. So these financial instruments and prediction market for industry that never been tapped before. Because if you want to go long or short for GPU price or GPU, like a prediction market for GPU price or prediction market for RAM, and if you want to trade, if you want to go long short, there aren't any financial instrument for it. So launching those kind of capabilities on Solana not only generate a lot of fees, but also is required people, like if you want to mint tokenized GPU, you need to put OpenxAI as a minimum stake. Depending on how many tokenized GPU you want to mint. So you need to put a minimum stake. So when you have those requirements, and when people see the utility of these trading activities, then yes, then people will be looking for OpenxAI token, because that's the minimum requirement. As a proof of reserve, you need to put that proof of reserve, and the trading capabilities can be executed. So in traditional DeFi world, people call it LPs, liquidity providers. In OpenxAI context, it will be resource providers. You become a resource provider, but these resources are tokenized resources, and that helps a price discovery for our V10, because V10 now users are builders. Builders, what they want cheap compute. They want to be able to find a better pricing. So having a trading layer underneath the V10 helps traders to speculate and trade, because in crypto, like one of the biggest use cases is speculation and trading. That's probably 90% of the use case in crypto. So we are introducing a new asset class for people to trade. And we will be launching in one of the greatest ecosystem in Solana. So that trade volumes and trade fees is a revenue for OpenxAI. In order for people to mint those tokenized assets, they need to stake OpenxAI token. So that's the protocol consensus algorithm. So that's why, I just described two pillars. One is the V10 for builders to build. V10 is for people to showcase their AI apps and AI agents. So think of like OpenSea for AI agents and AI apps. So we have a marketplace on V10, and we have another section for builders to build. So the V10, it will be the hugging face of Web3. Underneath, you have specific layers that bring the token economy, token infrastructure, and then the I call it minimal viable ecosystem will be built based on those two layers, minimum, right? There are other layers. We can get into in a different call, but these are the pillars that required to make OpenxAI as a protocol, as a network to sustain, because you can't just launch a project and a product. Typically, most of like apps, traditional apps. So we're talking about like mobile apps or web app. These are traditional apps, regardless of Web 2 or Web 3. But we are a network. So there's a very big difference. How do you take a product to market versus how do you bring a network to market? It's two different categories. So there are two different approaches. How do you bring your network to the market, and then have your go-to-market strategy? This go-to-market strategy is very different if you're just launching an app, right? Because all you need is your product market fit, and push your app, and you understand your customers, understand your customer life cycles, and regardless of the viability, you might have whether you want to cross the minimum viable product or minimum lovable product, you go through that process. So that's the Silicon Valley 101 that everyone just copy paste for most of their product and services. Like most of SaaS services built on those principles. But when it's come to network, you cannot copy paste that part. Very different approach. It takes longer, a lot of efforts. But once you have some momentum in a network, when you have the minimal viable ecosystem, then things will be much easier. So it's always going to be harder, like simple products, like apps, easy to push, but harder to retain, and also harder to keep the user stickiness. The stickiness is always going to be a challenge. So if you want to ship an app, and if you want to grow the app, you can grow really fast. It takes a lot of resources to keep the app position or the market position or the user user retention that require a lot of resources like budgets and efforts. But at the same time, there is huge significant risk. The app, the popularity of the app, the usage can also drop out. That's why in traditional world, when you're building like latest apps or maybe mobile apps, you have a quick spike and then just drop out, right? Only like companies with $1 billion of resources, they can keep burning cash until they get the mass adoption. So then, it doesn't matter if the app is, economically viable or not. They just keep burning cash to acquire users. So this is a typical model of how you can basically bring a product to market. But if you think about that same kind of behavior in crypto, I would say like meme coins. Like meme coins are launched in that kind of a fashion. A quick spike, and then obviously, as long as people are talking about it or people are using it, then yes. But then it quickly dies out. But unfortunately, for when it's come to networks and protocols, we cannot apply the exact principles. It's a very different approach. So what are the networks? Networks like cloud networks. So networks like L1 networks, like Ethereum, Bitcoin, Solana, these are L1 networks. OpenxAI is also a network. OpenxAI is not an app. So we need to understand. So like example, like Phantom. So Phantom being L1 chain and L1 protocol, it took a very long time to actually get to some sort of a traction and momentum. The early research happened in 2017, and we raised tons of money in 2018 through ICO. But until 2019, 2020, nothing really happened because of the network. It's so large and so complicated to move. But once you move, the growth can happen, and also the retention can be easy to maintain. Because it's like just imagine like a huge snowball or a huge, like a metal ball, and you have to push really hard. Once it's pushed, it keeps the momentum. Unlike apps can be quick, but also it dies out. So I hope people understand the difference between OpenxAI being a network compared to apps and traditional like product go-to-market strategies. So what I wanted to show, kind of showcase with you, I share with you guys some updates. So currently, our main priority is the V10 launch. So V10 launch has two pillars. One is the product keynote. So we have secured a venue in Dubai. It's a very nice venue in production zone. So that's the area in Dubai. So the screen itself is like a huge screen. It's about 22 meters wide. It's a huge screen. So we can showcase our network better. We can visualize. So our team members, when we present, we can showcase like data centers, how data centers are connecting to each other, how tokenized GPUs basically works, because these are complex things we'll need to showcase in a more visual way. So the screen can help us to visualize a lot of things. And we will be talking about features about V10. This V10, there are specific features the V10 has. No other platform does. So if I were to maybe bring your attention to few features. So V10 has few features that I think it's going to be a real breakthrough. One, let's start with like few basic ones. So V10 allow users to aggregate around 15,000 GPUs real time, scan real time, for the end users to find the cheapest compute, because we build a network of lots of unutilized GPUs. So when a builder or a user come to V10 to deploy an AI model or AI service, they have to host somewhere, right? So when it's come to finding that particular GPU, so we have a GPU aggregator technology. We built that. We built that for the last 4 or 5 years. We built that network. So it's kind of like a sky scanner for GPUs. So that way, builders, instead of going to Google and AWS and Microsoft, which they give you only one spot price, in our case, we can give users a far more cheaper price, up to 90% cheaper. So that's the first thing, the price. Second, privacy. V10 allow people to rent out a machine through our network. And once you acquire the GPU is wrapped in a smart contract and connected to your wallet. So there's no KYC, there's no registration, there's no traditional SSH key access. So the only way you can access and unlock your GPU is with your wallet. The same way how you treat your crypto, your keys and your keys and your crypto in our design, your keys equals your AI, your data. So the idea of a privacy or private a cloud compute that attached to you, to your wallet, is a very, very big breakthrough, because we are seeing a lot of high demand right now that the businesses and enterprises, they don't want to give up their IP. They don't want to upload their sensitive information to like public AI services like chatbots. I've read some policies from some like popular companies. They prohibited for their employees to upload company documents to ChatGPT, as an example, because the privacy policies of these public chatbots are blurry, right? They may use your personal data to train or use for other purposes. If you go and find print of the privacy policies, then you know what's happening. So a lot of corporations, they just say no. They prefer like a private that they control and extremely high security. Now, what OpenxAI V10 enable, when you connect your wallet, so we use Base Wallet and Ethereum Wallet, your compute server or your GPU is protected or secure by the same network, so same security as Ethereum security, right? Ethereum network never been hacked to this date. So Ethereum network is extremely secure. So we are bringing the same security, or obviously exact same security, to the user to secure their AI services and AI apps. So if you're hosting an AI app, because it also has a two side. One, not just the privacy aspect. The other part is censorship. So if you're hosting something on your server and nobody can access your server, nobody can shut down your server, which means your app can always stay within your control. So if you have an AI agent or AI app that you build, then nobody can shut down, technically. Of course, they can contact the data center, the GPU, and they can shut down, but you can move that to another GPU, right? So technically, you have as long as you can switch between different nodes in the network, you're kind of immutable, your server or your service. Nobody can shut down your service. Unlike Google Cloud or other traditional cloud, if a government want to shut down that service, or someone reports a DMCA request to shut down, the Google will take that as a request, and if the request is valid, they just basically shut down the service, right? And they can block your IP address. They can do whatever they want. So you have no choice. So you have to ask their permission to host your services on their cloud. Our principle is we are a permissionless hosting service, which means users don't need to get permission from us to host it. Very different. The last feature, I would say this feature is the most sexier to me personally, because we spoke to, like when I was in Australia, we spoke to maybe around 20 to 30 like AI entrepreneurs, and this is a real pain. And when I travel Hong Kong, Dubai, US, I spoke to a lot of AI founders and AI entrepreneurs. This is a real pain. So if you want to launch your own AI company or AI service today, and if you want to commercialize, typical journey for those AI entrepreneurs is extremely difficult. So you as a entrepreneur, you build your technology and you build your app. And in order to monetize your app, the only way you can monetize it by building a SaaS types of infrastructure and then integrating a typical credit card merchant into your AI service. Because I mean, how else people can pay your service, right? And when you integrate credit card payment system, the credit card payment system will basically collect payments on behalf of you from your customers, and then they will pay you theoretically, whether it's once every day or once every month, they will transfer money from their account to your account. So in order to receive funds from credit card payment provider to you as a business owner or entrepreneur, you need to have a physical bank account. Physical bank account cannot be your personal, I mean, can be, but preferably a company bank account. So in order to establish a company bank account, you need to have a company set up. In order to have a company, you need to be in places that you can set up a company and just set up a bank account. So, and you probably know in crypto, most people in Africa, Asia, they don't have bank accounts, right? Like, like even Dubai, you cannot get a bank account. It takes about 3 to 6 months to get a bank account. So no bank account. So how these entrepreneurs monetizing their AI services is a real problem. If you're in Western countries like Australia, US, sure, one click of a button, just contact the agent. Agent will set up your company, bank accounts in 24 hours or 48 hours. Happy days, right? But the rest of the world is not, that's not how it is. It's very difficult. So that's why we're just replacing the whole old infrastructure and railways and replacing with smart contracts, stable coins, and using crypto. So you as a user, entrepreneur, you can launch your own AI company, AI service. Instead of using credit cards, use on-chain wrappers. So we have on-chain wrapper capabilities. So if you launch your AI service, you click on the back settings page of your app, then you copy paste your wallet. So which means that wallet is your bank account. You can set multiple wallets. So in order to receive payments from your end customers, you put your wallets. It could be Ethereum wallet or your base wallet. And you're accepting payments. You can set what payments mode you want to receive payments from. You can set USDC, USDT, or you can accept from meme coins if you want to, right? And in order for you to protect your IP, control your business logic, we have a backend where people can just enter using like a manual entries, like a form. Imagine you're filling a form and it basically takes user input and write a smart contract for you. So we have a smart contract compilers on V10. So those who are struggling to go from 0 to 1 to launching their own AI service, AI company, now they can utilize on-chain infrastructure, stable coins, micropayments. Micropayment is very important because micropayments is going to disrupt the traditional SaaS, like SaaS industry. Because SaaS industry or subscription and SaaS subscription services or SaaS subscription industry is the dominant industry today. Like we pay subscription for everything, right? so that subscription service, you pay a fixed amount per month, regardless of what you use on the service. You might be paying for Netflix, you might be paying for some other subscriptions, but how often you use that subscription? With OpenxAI V10, so we have something called function as a service. So instead of paying a subscription, you pay only for function. Since we have a micropayments enable, you can pay for, let's say, rendering a 5 minutes video, you pay $0.001 in USDC instead of paying like a subscription per month. And V10 platform will be also in the back end, we will be working on an infrastructure for agents to communicate and work. What that means, instead of people are building things, agents can also build things and buy things and bid things on the marketplace. Agents can basically build a service directly. The frameworks like X402 that we studied a lot, we are very excited, those kind of innovation. So agent can basically be an entrepreneur. I'm sure you guys probably heard about these agent social networks recently. It's very interesting. Agents they build their own social network, they're communicating. V10 has capabilities for agent to basically launch an AI service. So it's not a human. Agent can launch an AI service. X402 will enable the agent to have its own wallet, which means agent not only can pay for things, agent can also earn money. So the V10 backend will enable or welcome agents, not just humans. The humans only front end. So since V10 is a web application, similar like Hugging Face, people can go into the URL and they type the URL and they go to the particular web application. They can do whatever they want to do, like as a human. But for agents, we have a specific protocol using X402 for agents to communicate with the marketplace. So agents can go and bid for items in the marketplace. Agents can ship their own ideas in the marketplace. Agent can go and deploy another agent. So it's imagine like an agent creating another agent. I mean, these are really cool stories and innovation, right? So that's why V10 is very, very innovative. And I consider V10 as a platform is going to be one of the most innovative platforms. And it's going to be a major milestone in AI and Web3 industry. That's why the product launch is going to be very important. That's why we're spending a little bit more time and resources into the V10 product launch. If you guys want to take an idea what the product keynote is going to look like, just go to YouTube and type Google Willow. So Google Willow, it was a supercomputer. It was a quantum computer that Google built. They had a very nice technical keynote. So we're going to be doing something similar in Dubai. So we're planning to do that in this month if everything goes well, if not early March. So the keynote, it features all the things what I just said to you today, plus more other features in a more visual way. Of course, better structured way. I just said it, from top of my head, but our team will present very, very nicely. Those content will be distributed live stream and also distribute to a lot of audience. So that's pillar number one for V10. Pillar number two is onboarding users. So right after the product launch or a product announcement event, we will run a campaign for probably like a month or two to onboard minimum 100,000 users. So this 100,000 users will come from not just from crypto, from AI space, gaming industry, and etc. So the target is million users, but 100,000 is minimum. So somewhere between 100,000 to million. So to achieve that, we will be working with multiple partners because our team will not be able to execute at that magnitude by ourselves. So we'll be working with different partners. So I'll give you an example. During the last cycle, there was a company called YGG. So they helped. They helped the concept called play to earn. So back in the days, obviously during the GameFi times where people play games to earn, and YGG onboarded around 500,000 users from Philippines only for Axie Infinity. So Axie Infinity was a game very popular back in the days. So YGG company helped to onboard around half a million users from one region, Philippines, to Axie Infinity game. Of course, it's different times. We're not expecting that level of users from one single region, but our priority for 100,000 is Indonesia, Thailand, Philippines, Vietnam, and also South America. If we have enough resources, we'll target regions like Turkey and North America, because customer acquisition has all come down to the costs. So some of our partners that we've spoken to, like EBQ, Flow, YGG, Coinbull, Voltmark, these are a couple of companies we've spoken to. They have different budgets and different strategies, but the whole goal is to onboard and work with these companies and help with those, get a help from those external parties to help us to onboard and hit that number. So if everything goes well, our first thing will be the product introduction keynote, end of the month or beginning of March. And then with that product announcement, the V10 will not be available. So V10 will be available in about maybe 30 to 45 days later. It's the same type of strategy. Like if you think about like Tesla, so Tesla showcasing the Cybertruck is a keynote, but Cybertruck will not be delivered on the same day. So what we do during the product announcement to the actual V10 launch, we will run a campaign. So the campaign is called a 1 million V10 Marines. Again, that's the word at the moment. We don't have a proper word at the moment. So that's the kind of internal code for team. 1 million V10, 1 million Marine campaign. So the idea here is to onboard those users. So the platform, a lot of features will be disabled. So at the launch or the product announcement, end of the month or beginning of March, people can go to OpenxAI V10 and they can see some features. Some features will be blocked. But what they can do until the launch of the product, they can do a lot of things. So we will be building referral program. There are like some courses going to be built into the platform. So people can do like similar to task on or Galaxy's type of proof of work kind of things will be embedded in the platform. So people can do little tasks and they can earn some XP that which they can convert into tokens or USDT or USDC. So there will be a lot of things will be built into the platform itself. So until the product is launched, so these functions and features will help to grow and maybe go a little bit viral. That's our hope. And then if we hit the number early, then we launch V10. So it's not an engineering delay. It's basically we want to hit that number. It's like what we don't want. We don't want to launch the platform if we don't have enough fans. So that's why the user base is going to be important. Otherwise, Taylor Swift going to a concert in LA and there's only 10 people turn up, right? It's not good for Taylor Swift, but also it's not good for the entire Taylor Swift team. So we see the same way. If we launch V10, which we can launch V10 next week, like we built a lot of tech already. But without fans, without users, there's no point. And in today's DNA, like getting users is very difficult. That's why we create this exclusivity. creating this urgency to come on board, because every user who's registering and onboarding and signing with their wallet, it will be on-chain sign of that user's position, and we will give specific rewards for early users versus late users. So that's how we are running our campaigns. Our team currently focusing on working with those external parties and what kind of a functions is required, what kind of rewards won't be good, because rewards will be locked. Rewards cannot be unlocked. The only time the rewards will be unlocked at the launch of V10. So after V10 is launched, then those who are coming early, we will subsidize their compute fees and gas fees so people can build their first app. So if you get 100,000 users, if we enable, let's say, first 10,000 users, they can just build their apps and services without having to pay for compute or or gas fees. Then instantly, like 10,000 apps will be alive, right? So marketplace is not going to be empty. So we will set like specific metrics and mechanisms like spam versus high quality. We'll do our best to filter, and then we will create like a social proofs types of mechanisms. So then that will also filter the bad, like noise versus high quality creative apps. So our marketplace will have a really good services available, creative services. So if you guys want to understand what that looked like in our track record of experience, just go to Base Media Factory. So that was an experiment that we did. It's a really good experiment that we did. We whitelisted around 18,000 people. Out of 18,000, 1,100 people actually built an app. So that was an experiment, very successful experiment. So V10 would be probably 10, if not 30 times bigger than that campaign. So that's the main goal. So we are prioritizing that for the time being. So we are hoping that we will hit that 100,000 users. If we hit that early, then we will launch it early. If it takes like maybe 30 days or 45 days, we'll just grind as much we can to hit that number. So that's the main priority for us for the time being. And what else in terms of updates? Okay, one more update. Two more. So one, it's about like we shared last year in December about having a base kind of a hub in Dubai. So we'll be finalizing that hopefully mid next month. We're trying to aim to finish everything in February, if not March. So we will have a base hub in Dubai. So that's one. The next update in terms of, I hinted last AMA, I cannot go into more details, but at a high level, we are exploring proof of concept with one of the government that the tokenized GPU is just a one single GPU. How can we expand into a data center? So like having a simple data center, like a one small data center, being able to tokenize. So we're trying to work on that as a POC. So we appointed a one person on that region who could execute that. So we're working onboarding that person because he has really good relationship with the government. If everything goes well, then not just a tokenized GPU, it will be a tokenized data centers as a proof of concept. I think that would be really cool because data centers now are struggling because they rushed investing and buying tons of latest chips. And now NVIDIA is introducing even better chips. But then what happened to all the data centers already invested hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars, setting up all the data centers, but then they don't have the latest chips. So the revenue and sustainability for data centers are a tough game right now. So then having a tokenized aspect and having a trading capabilities with the tokenized RWAs and getting some yields out of it is a great economic factor. So again, like it's not going to be a viable thing for us. We just want to experiment and see how it works. So if everything goes well, then we can expand into a few data centers in certain regions. But at the moment, since we have a low hanging fruit that the government expressed some interest working with us, um, it is actually the other way around. We expressed and they acknowledged. We just want to formalized, but we don't want to spend too much resources. If it's fruitful and good, then we will execute. But so far, it seems like uh, it was like a n- it was like a like a throwaway conversation. What we had in December, and now it just turned into a serious conversation, right? So we are appointing one person to execute that. So that's also a great update. But yeah, so these are the updates from my side. Back to Paulus for community questions.
Thank you, Ashton, for the broad update. It was very interesting to listen or your takeaways on a broader picture in the world. We have one question from TG, and I see some requests here in the live call. So when will BV10 launch? So you answer that. What and when will be the schedule for buyback of the token? I assume because it's not mentioned.
Yeah, the buyback will be announced. So my lawyers, our lawyers basically said not to mention that anything in the public. So just pay closer look on Medium articles. We will publish that to public, and then we'll execute that. So everyone going to hear publicly from us officially with our Twitter, Telegram, Medium, and then I think it will be 24 hours or 48 hours. Then we'll execute the buyback through the market makers. But I cannot give you the date because I'm not legally to tell you publicly.
All right, Roger, on that. So, guys, now it's a time for a live session. I definitely invite you to jump on the stage and to use opportunity to ask questions live from Ashton. And we have a question from Nelson. So when you're ready, just unmute your mic and go on.
Hello everyone. Hello Ashton. Uh, hello Polius, the man behind the Onyx AI profile. All right. First, I want to say a big congratulations to Openex AI team on your 1 year anniversary and hitting 10K on Discord platform. Big shout out to the team for such an amazing growth and such amazing success over some months to date now. All right. Personally, I've been seeing so much updates from next year from X, and specifically, I just want to push this question to Ashton. Now, I just want to see what's that thing you built or you've tested personally, and then it reminds you of why you thought of coming up with OpenX AI, and at that point you said, "Wow, this is why ownership matters. This is why I built OpenX AI, or this is why I came up with the idea of OpenX AI." So I just specifically want to hear that from you. Then I just want to look up to you and answers.
Thank you, Nelson. I didn't catch everything. I think, are you asking why I personally started OpenxAI? Was that the question?
Okay.
Okay, so I said over the years, you've been building and then you've made so much achievements. But what is that one thing that you can actually look at and then you flash back to and said, this is why ownership matters, and then this is why I came up with OpenxAI. So I just want to hear from you what that specific thing is that keeps reminding you of why you came up with the idea of OpenxAI.
All right. Okay. I think the main motivation. There are a few motivations. The main one, I feel responsible. Like if you know something and if you don't do something about it, I feel guilty personally. So if I know, for example, I'm walking down the street and there's something on the road that I know someone will basically like a nail or something is going to punch a tire, someone going to get accident. So when you have like some knowledge and insights about industries like AI, because like AI to me, like I've been thinking about AI since probably 9. Like I'm a very big sci-fi fan, and one of a futurist called Arthur C. Clarke. So he lived in Sri Lanka, and I lived in Sri Lanka. So Arthur C. Clarke, who predicted future, he actually predicted artificial intelligence in 1970s. He used to write books. If you guys watched the movie 2001 Space Odyssey, written by him. So he was one of the big inspiration to me personally. I used to read his books. Unlike today, we didn't have smartphones, computers. When I was growing up, I didn't even have electricity at home, right? So we just basically borrow a book from a library, go back home and then read. And most of these books that I used to read from Arthur C. Clarke. So, and he talked a lot about AI being a game changer for human civilization. He also highlighted the importance of like the danger. Like you cannot, you cannot play with fire. Like we have proven over and over again as a civilization or species that we are not capable of playing things that beyond our comprehension, right? Since we are still type 0 civilization, which means we are not advanced enough in the universe scale. We might be advanced in our world, but if there are other civilizations, type 1, type 2 civilizations, then we are still basic. We are type 0 civilization. So the idea that when we found fire, we also use fire to cause harm to other humans, animals, and probably destroy whatever we want to destroy, right? So when people found, let's say, nuclear energy, uh, nuclear technologies, people use that against other people, right? That's how this is our track record, not for hundreds of years. This is our track record, like since we became humans or since civilization evolved. Like we use always any tools that we can find from stones to fire to nuclear weapons. Like we will always use these new tools and new technologies against each other, and also take an advantage over a small group of people or vast number of people. So AI is very scary because we are not talking about fire. We are not talking about uh, a tool like a smartphone. We're not talking about a car as a utility for you to go from point A to point B. AI is basically um, it's another human, uh, and potentially would be a lot more advanced than human. So for the first time in history, we are facing a kind of identity crisis slash a threat for humanity like humanity and human existence. Arthur C. Clarke talked heavily on this particular topic. So when I grew up, these kind of both side, the positive and negative. And when I first, like you can go to my Medium and you can go back in 2019 and 2020, I wrote like some of the articles about like on-chain AI agents, like AI agents coming to Web3 space. I talked about that a lot. I anticipated that would come in like 2020 or 2022. Of course, it took a little bit longer than I anticipated, but it became a big deal. So AI became a big deal. I talked a lot about like large language models being able to predict the words next to each other. Because back in the days, we're talking about early 2000s, most of AIs are, it's basically, neural networks and deep learning. So, and current designs like LLMs, architecture is vastly different, but these innovations like 10, 100x different to existing innovation that had. So when I was working with um, OpenMesh, of course, like it's a cloud computing network. And of course, we found out it would be ideal to build something on top of OpenMesh. Then we can bring more demand for OpenMesh. But the core, it was resonating with me about the problems that I found during, let's say, in the last maybe 10, 15 years working in industry, and probably maybe 30 to 35 years um, learning about the AI and the danger of AI. So the idea here is for you to build some sort of innovation and technology that basically preserves some basic democratic principles like ownership, privacy, um, and your control, instead of having centralization and central control. So that's a kind of a fundamental thing I felt. So because I'm a big believer when it's come to decentralization and democratic principles. So having some sort of a tool or a network being able to embed those principles into the design of the network and embedding those principles into the product itself as a product design, not only is a cool experiment to me, but also is, if users start recognizing, and we might be building something really cool and powerful. So that's the main motivation. But it's everything just goes back to I can relate to Arthur C. Clarke and people like Ray Kurzweil, people like Michio Kaku. These are my like inspirations when it's come to innovation and technology.
All right. Thank you, Ashton, for sharing your story. It was interesting to listen. I see the Chris online. Do you want to ask something, buddy?
Hey, how's it going, Ashton? How's it going, everyone? And like Nelson said earlier, happy anniversary, first anniversary, and happy birthday. So I do have a couple questions. I missed a bit of the earlier stuff, so it may have been brought up. When we do our V10 launch event, will the Solana Foundation be showing up and taking a part of it with us?
No, because V10 will not be launched on Solana. Solana will come into the second pillar, which is the trading the trading pillar. So that will be launched on Solana. So we'll be working with Orca, Jupiter, and Solana Foundation for that.
Okay, great. I guess another question I kind of had, more along to V10 again, is it currently accessible on Android? And will it be available for like Android, iOS, Linux?
It's a web application, so technically you should be able to access through a typical browser. So in terms of infrastructure and orchestration layer, that's all built using NixOS. Is a Linux base, and we built the operating system ourselves. So our operating system called, like you probably heard operating system names like Ubuntu, Linux, Windows. I mean, Mac users have Mac OS. OpenxAI, we have something called Xnode OS. So that particular OS that we built, so we spend around $8 to $9 million in R&D for the last 4 or 5 years building those OS and technologies. So the cool thing about these open source OS that we built, you can launch your, like if you power your Windows 11 computer or your Android, if you restart, it takes like, a few seconds, maybe, I don't know, 30 seconds to load. Xnode OS, it's less than 15 seconds, sometimes 12 seconds. So that loads very fast. And then you can just install your AI infrastructure and you can just build your application on top. Installing your AI app will take a little bit time, but then the OS itself is very light. It's built based on Linux architecture and NixOS.
Okay, that's great to know. I guess last question would be, when it comes to the platform, are we looking to basically serve the average user, or do we have an idea of trying to attract larger AI companies to utilize as well?
Hmm. We got a lot of feedback. Enterprise might be better for revenue because we'll be able to get revenue straight away because we have clients already. Unfortunately, we cannot scale that. We could do maybe 1 or 2 company on board and having a BD look after those companies. We are actively speaking to 1 or 2 enterprise clients, and they will work with us. Like for example, there's a marketing company that they just want to use our AI infrastructure to resize their banners. So they do API-based banner deployments for lots of crypto media. Like if you go to Dex Scanner, if you go to not the Coin Market Cap, what's the other one? Coin Gecko. So there's tons of banner appears. So what they have technology to basically work with brands to to create banners very quickly, and they're going to use our AI infrastructure, image generation, and our cheap GPUs to build that. And they will deposit like around 50K USDC for a 6 months contract for them to use our infra, and we deliver the outputs through APIs. Like this is one example how we can work with enterprise clients, but unfortunately we won't be able to replicate because these guys seems like good guys and I know them for a while and they see our value prop, so we can just basically work with them closely so we can learn and we can improve the product. Our main priority would be for V10, like general users, like general public, like individual users.
Okay, great. That's good to know. Thanks for clarifying that. So I think that's actually all I have to ask. So I'll just jump off the mic now, and if somebody else wants to speak, they can.
Yeah, thanks, Chris, for questions. Swami, it's your turn now.
Okay, good day, everybody. Good day, Austin. Good day, everyone. So, Austin, okay, first, before I start, I would like to say happy anniversary to OpenxAI. And I would just love to say the growth has just been really massive and we know what we are doing, and to just see a lot of people just coming in our community, it shows interest. It really shows interest that, a lot of diverse people are coming in from different zones and just wanting to know more about AI. And yeah, we share the platform for them to be able to have more intel on what we are doing, that we're actually going on a decentralized type of AI, a permissionless network. And it's really, really interesting. And just for the purpose of new people joining us here, Austin, I would like you to, quickly summarize, like give us a layman understanding, because maybe someone that is just joining live for the first time might be wondering, oh, we have been talking about V10, we've been so excited about V10, the community is hype up about V10, but I'm just joining for the first time. They'll just say that, for example, maybe someone that just joining for the first time might like, okay, what are they actually talking about? What is V10? Can you explain what V10 is to that particular person, because I believe you've already said so much about V10 in the infrastructural aspect. to just give us the overview pictures so that someone that have never experienced any technicality when it comes to what we are doing will be able to have that picture. So over to you, Austin.
Awesome, cool. So V10, like when we announced the actual V10, it will be a different name. We call it V10 because it's the internal code at the moment. So V10 is our, currently, if you go to our website, if you click on Studio on the right-hand side, that is the V4.5. That is our platform. So V10, it is our own platform. It's a web-based platform. People can access the platform through a laptop, tablet, hopefully with a phone. It's not a native app that you can download. It's basically a web application. If you sign up with Gmail, user experience will be like that. Instead of having email, there will be wallets. But the V10 is a completely web application, but designed using Web3 technologies. If you're into AI, the closest example that I can give you is Hugging Face. So Hugging Face is a web-based application that you can launch your AI LLM models. You can host it. You can see what other people have hosted, and you can go and test it. So it's like an AI ecosystem. So V10, it has a lot of characteristics like Hugging Face. So if you want to launch your AI company or AI service, you can do that. So there are lots of features, but the most prominent features is two pillars. One is the building area or the building section where builders or entrepreneurs go and launch their AI company or AI services or AI agents. So you can do that. And the other part is the marketplace. So if you want to picture what does a marketplace look like, go to OpenxAI. So OpenxAI is the NFT marketplace. So if you go to OpenxAI, you can see people are putting these NFTs for trading and selling and renting. So OpenxAI V10 has a marketplace. So if you're a creator, you can put your service on the marketplace for someone else to go come and consume. Or you can put your entire AI app or agent or entire AI company for a sell. You can sell the whole thing on a marketplace. So that's V10 as a platform.
Okay, Austin, thanks for that enlightenment. So I want to ask another question, but this time around I'll be coming from the geopolitical side of things from what you've said so far about this V10. So if this platform hosts a model, I know maybe we have diverse regions and something like that. If a major government has an issue, finds an issue with this with the model that is being launched in that particular region, can the government, pressurize core infrastructures that is being used to create that model, or kind of sanctuaries, or kind of, stop the run of that model being run, or something like that? What technicality, or what are we actually doing to be able to resist such or something, if you get my question?
Okay, so let's say you're in Nairobi, you're a student and you want to launch, let's say AI service for Nairobi, let's say agriculture industry. Okay, so let's take an example. So what your AI service can do, anyone can come to your AI service, can ask anything about Kenyan agriculture, right? That's including pulling reports, creating charts. You can ask pretty much anything. So you as a builder, or the person as a builder, what the person did is pick the open source AI model. Let's call it DeepSeek or OpenAI open source version, and fine-tuned and trained with the data of Kenyan agriculture. And you build a front end that you did a branding, like, Kenyan agriculture kind of a branding, an interface. You build an interface with a chatbot, and maybe some news appear on the front end. So the users, your users, or the users want to consume the app, they can go and interact with the apps. You can create a paywall. You as a builder, you can say, okay, anyone can ask 50 questions, or 50 uploads or 50 downloads can do for free. Anything beyond that, you have to pay 0.00002 USDC every time you ask a question or every time you download something. I mean, you come up with the business logic, right? So you can do all of that with the V10. Not only you can build, not only you can design, not only can create the web app capabilities, not only you can create those smart contracts, you can create the on-chain infrastructure, building payment railways, everything through V10 platforms. You can build all of that. Now you build it. Now you need to host it, which we have infrastructure. You host it, and you can either buy a domain name from GoDaddy or some other place, and you replace the URL that you get through V10 default. So when you deploy app, you will have a specific URL, like a custom URL. For example, openxai.org/v10/your ID, right? So that's the URL for your application. So people can discover your app from anywhere in the world. What you can do, you can buy a domain from GoDaddy, and then you can replace, you can say kenyanagriculture.com. So when someone goes to the website, people will go to their app. Now, so from outside, anyone around the world, anyone can access your app. Now your app is hosted, for example, in South American a GPU or a server in South America. Now, maybe Kenyan government having issue with your service, what they can do, they can contact the data center who happen to host that service in South America. But you as a builder or creator, what you can do, you can have a copy of your entire service on another location. So you can even create redundancy. That feature we don't have in V10. This version, maybe Q3, Q4, we will enable these features. It's simply you can have a redundancy, like multiple copies. If the server in South America got shut down, you can just redirect them to North America, Canada, or other regions. So you can actually create a redundancy mirrors of your service, so the users will have uninterrupted access to your service. So that's number one. So it's a little bit clunky, but it's doable. So that way you can protect your service, not by shut down by someone else or a government. Just having said that, governments don't reach out to other governments to shut down a user's, like, another service. It doesn't happen unless you are doing something really illegal, like child pornography, terrorism, and money laundering, and like the bad stuff. As long as you're someone good, government's not gonna try to shut down, right? Unless you're living in North Korea or Venezuela, right? However, the real innovation will happen towards to Q3, Q4 this year. We will be launching our own decentralized cloud, which is the Open Mesh Cloud. So Open Mesh Cloud is a decentralized, which means there's no owner. If you guys heard about torrent networks, like torrent networks are like a decentralized storage networks. So you can download movies, you can download songs, softwares as a decentralized storage protocol. So with Open Mesh, it will be decentralized cloud network, which means instead of hosting into data centers that part of our network, you can just host on Open Mesh Cloud. When that happens, obviously, you have a lot more immutability and geopolitical resistance or censorship because you're hosting on a decentralized network that's not owned by a data center or a region. It will be much more immutable, much more resilient to any other censorships.
Okay, thank you for that insight. There was something you said that caught my attention when you said unless you're actually doing something illegal. And I just want to ask lastly, Austin, are there verification mechanisms that could be able to prevent, people that have malicious reasons to come into the system and use it for this kind of purposes or something like that? Because I believe that okay, this AI is for the people, you understand, and is community owned and all that. Something that can actually be used to do good can actually be used to do bad. So in terms of actually doing bad, are there things or setups to be able to prevent it or to be able to kind of reduce it to a maximum level? That's what I want to ask.
Yeah, well, this is a big topic. The short answer, we don't have a good solution, right? So we don't even know how to prevent or address that. We know that we want to keep the platform open and permissionless. Since we are a US entity, since we are docs people, of course, governments and regulators will come after us, right? If we are not giving if you are not giving what they want. But technically, we cannot give users data because if you connect with your wallet and if you lock your server with your wallet, like we don't know your private keys, we cannot access, right? But reality, of course, governments will try to do something. So we don't have good answers. Lawyers are obviously very nervous about this topic. What if someone hosting, let's say, like illegal stuff on a server and it's part of OpenxAI network? Maybe potentially that's available in the marketplace. So, from a marketplace point of view, if people are maybe, if you have a voting system and social proof, maybe people vote bad, it might probably will rank it somewhere like third, fourth, or maybe 50th page on the marketplace. So people don't discover, or people flag as a spam or scam or illegal, right? So we'll have to invent those kind of social proofs and social inputs. Same way how social media platforms basically like try to not to not to prevent free speech, but if something illegal, that there are some mechanisms, but we cannot like take things down, right? That's like we cannot do, like technically we cannot we cannot take someone's service down. Unlike lots of social media platforms or cloud computing companies, they can take down user services. Unfortunately, we can't. So the only way governments can do that is by contacting the actual source, which is the data centers. They can talk to data centers, say, hey, by the way, there's a service IP address coming from your data center on a GPU that belongs to OpenxAI network, but you're physically hosting this. We are telling you to shut down. But you as a user can just copy this, or you can have redundancy CDN, which is a content delivery network or IP address, to reroute to another location. And you just, for the end users don't even feel that the service is being routed, your traffic is being routed to another server. You can do that as a user. So the governments have to like keep going and shutting down. I mean, this is where illegal activities might be the case. So then we'll invent some sort of a mechanism to prevent those people are appearing in marketplace, but those people will stay in our network, right? So there are challenges. I don't have answers to those challenges because what we will not do is set up a backdoors for us to go and shut it down, because that's not our ethos, and technically our architecture prevent us doing that. So we cannot. So we don't have a good answer. So to your point, there will be bad actors in a network. and we'll have to deal with at that time when we get all this bad actors.
Okay, thank you, Austin, for that insight. I really appreciate everything you've shared so far.
Thank you. Great questions. Thank you.
All right. I think we're okay with the questions. At least for now, I don't see any new requests. So thanks, Ashton, for you, and thank you guys, everyone, for joining in. Don't forget to follow up our X account. Under X account, you could see the link tree. So under clicking on that, you could found our Discord, TG, LinkedIn, socials. So don't forget to follow up, turn on notifications so you guys don't miss any news. And yeah, don't forget, jump into community, hang on with us, and other than that, don't forget next Tuesday. Is it anything else, Ashton, you wanna say? And if no, then we could close the session.
Yeah, I highlighted this last AMA. If we can get some more community feedback, I think ambassadors, if you guys can help our internal team, we want some community feedback for our V10. Since V10 is like the front end is built, the back end is built, we wanted to show to a selected number of people from community and get feedback, right? So we want to hear from you what you think about our platform.
Yeah, so the registration form is already closed, so I think we could discuss with Ashton internally just to select the proper date for the live demo event, and we could definitely do that.
Okay.
All right,
Cool.
so thank you guys for joining in, and yeah, have a good evening and see you next Tuesday. Bye bye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good week.